today we're looking at the couch stretch. I believe it was named that because you can lean in front of your couch to do this. All you need is a object with enough height that's probably about the same size as this length of your leg so you can pop your foot up onto it. Its main objective is to stretch out your quads. So these are the muscles that run down the front of your legs. So there's 4 muscles in there. And they get really tight from sitting. So their job is to help our bodies stand up straight. But when we spend our time in this position with this bend here, these muscles get shorter. And as they get shorter, it makes it harder to stretch them out. So we're using, in my case, a box, but you can use a chair or a couch at your home to help stretch out the fronts of our legs and how they join up into the front of your hips and just get a bit more length. It's important to have length in your quads because that's what leads to this hunched posture. If you can't straighten yourself up because your legs are tight, it's going to pull everything forwards and in. Now this is a bit of an awkward movement. As you might have seen from my demonstration, it's not the most graceful position to get into, but there is a method. You always want to start by taking the foot that's going to be elevated and put that into the position first. So make sure you got a good stable base on the ground. You're going to pop your foot up. And then from there, you're going to step your opposite leg forward. Now you don't want to be too close to the wall. You're going to know quickly if you're too close because you're not going to be able to straighten up. If you can't straighten up, you want to just shift out a little bit. Shift out until you're in a position where you can be straight. So your goal would be to eventually get to a point where your knee can be against the wall. If you can get your knee right back, then you've got some awesome quad stretch going on and you've got a lot of good mobility, and that's amazing. And the longer you practice these, the better you will get at it. So once you're in position, you want to try and imagine that there's a balloon tied to the top of your head, a helium balloon, and it wants to float upwards. So it wants to pull everything up. So you want to stretch up as tall as you can and be nice and straight. And breathe. The more you just gently push your hips forward, so you want to have a nice straight line in your hips. Gently pushing your hips forward, stretching them nice and tall is going to increase that stretch through the front of your leg. If you're finding it a little challenging to balance, you can take just a broomstick or something. Now you don't want to be like leaning on this thing. This is not a stretch. What you can do though, just hold it. Notice I'm just using my fingertips because you just want a little point of stability. So it's not doing the work, but it's telling my brain it's okay, I've got something to balance with, and we're tricking our brains into thinking that this is something that's stable. Brains are good like that. And it's just going to help you to kind of stay in this position. You're just going to breathe. And this might feel uncomfortable, but it doesn't get worse than what it is, if that makes sense. You'll understand once you're in the position. It might be a little bit uncomfortable at first, but the intensity of that feeling won't go past that. So it's about becoming comfortable with being in that position with that feeling that you're getting through your leg. If you are someone who sits for long periods, it's going to take a while to become comfortable with that. And you're probably going to start quite a good distance out from whatever it is that you're using to put your foot up on, and that's okay. It's just about breathing through it and actually allowing the stretch to happen. So you don't want to resist it. It feels a bit tight, don't back off. Sit with that tightness because that's okay. It's a good thing to be feeling that because it means you're actually getting the stretch that you need. I think that's the biggest tip I can give you is don't avoid that level of sensation that you're going to get. You may also feel the stretch a little bit as you're in that position. Don't be surprised if each side is a little bit different. Like my left side is much easier at getting closer to this box than my right side is. That can be due to handedness. I've had an injury on this side, so that's going to have tightened things up. So there's a lot of factors that come into play for why you may be more easily movable on one side than the other. And that's not a good or a bad thing. It's just how our bodies kind of go sometimes, imbalances and stuff that we create through our movements. You may feel it up a bit higher. So there's muscles that they don't just stop at your hips, they actually run up into your stomach. So it's okay if you're feeling it up higher in the front of your hip as well. Just breathe through it. It'll be okay. It's all about breathing through. When it comes to stretching, breathing allows your central nervous system to relax. So the more, just nice in through the nose, out through the mouth, letting yourself sink into the stretch, the more benefit you're going to get from that stretch. Yeah. Enjoy.